There's something that nobody told you about turning 30. Society whispered that your best years were behind you, that your value was fading, that you should hurry, settle, or simply accept less. But here's what I've noticed again and again. Some women don't fade after 30. They bloom, they glow. They become magnetic in a way they never were before. And today, I want to show you exactly why that happens and how it can happen for you too. Let me start with why this conversation matters so deeply. We live in a world that has spent decades, maybe centuries, telling women that their worth is tied to youth, to smooth skin, to a number on a birthday card. And so many women walk into their 30s carrying a quiet fear. A fear that their time is running out, that they've already missed their window, that the best version of themselves has already come and gone. But here's what I believe with every part of my heart. That is a lie. It's a lie that keeps women small. It's a lie that makes women rush into the wrong relationships, stay in places that don't honor them, and shrink themselves when they should be expanding. And the truth, the beautiful, powerful truth, is that some of the most magnetic, radiant, and deeply attractive women I've ever encountered are women over 30, over 40, over 50. Not because they're trying to look younger, not because they're fighting against time, but because they have discovered something that no amount of youth can give you. They have discovered themselves. And when a woman truly knows who she is, when she has walked through fire and come out softer instead of harder, when she has stopped performing and started living, she becomes impossible to ignore. That kind of beauty doesn't fade. It deepens. And that is why this matters. Because your age is not your enemy. Your age is your invitation. So today I'm going to share with you 5 powerful reasons why some women become more attractive after 30. These are not tips about makeup or fashion. These are not tricks to look younger. These are deep, lasting shifts that happen inside a woman, shifts that change how she carries herself, how she speaks, how she loves, and how the world responds to her. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what makes certain women glow after 30. You'll see why your journey, including your struggles, your lessons, your growth, is actually preparing you to become the most magnetic version of yourself. And more importantly, you'll walk away with simple, practical things you can start doing today to step into that woman fully. Let's begin. Reason number 1, she finally knows who she is. Let me explain why this matters so much. In your 20s, you're still figuring things out. You're trying on different identities. You're experimenting with who you want to be, what you believe, what kind of life you want to live. And that's beautiful. That's exactly what your 20s are for. But somewhere in your 30s, something shifts. You start to settle into yourself. Not settle as in give up. Settle as in arrive. You stop asking the world to tell you who you are. You stop changing yourself to fit into rooms that were never meant for you. You stop apologizing for your preferences, your pace, your personality. And that is when you become truly attractive. Because here is something that most people don't understand about attraction. We are not drawn to perfection. We are drawn to presence. We are drawn to people who are at home in their own skin. We are drawn to women who walk into a room and don't scan it for approval because they already know their own worth. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever met someone who was conventionally beautiful, but felt somehow empty? Like there was no one really there. They looked the part, but something was missing. And have you ever met someone who wasn't the most traditionally beautiful person in the room, but you couldn't look away from them? There was something about the way they moved, the way they spoke, the way they held themselves. They had a presence. That presence comes from self-knowledge. When you know who you are, when you've done the inner work to understand your values, your needs, your dreams, your boundaries, you stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop trying to be someone else's version of attractive. And that authenticity is magnetic. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman named Sarah. In her 20s, Sarah was always watching herself, always adjusting. At parties, she would laugh a little louder at jokes she didn't find funny. In relationships, she would dim her opinions to avoid conflict. At work, she would agree with people she didn't agree with just to be liked. Sarah was exhausted because performing is exhausting. But then, somewhere around 32, something changed. Maybe it was a difficult breakup that forced her to look inward. Maybe it was becoming a mother and realizing she wanted to model something different for her daughter. Maybe she just got tired of pretending. Whatever it was, Sarah started making different choices. She started saying what she really thought, kindly, but honestly. She stopped going to events that drained her. She let go of friendships that felt one-sided. She started dressing in a way that felt like her, not like what magazines told her to wear. And something beautiful happened. People started noticing her differently, not because she looked different, but because she felt different. She had substance. She had depth. She had that quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are. That's the power of self-knowledge. So here's what you can do to cultivate this in your own life. First, spend time alone with yourself. Not distracted time, not scrolling time. Real, quiet time. Take yourself on walks. Journal. Ask yourself questions like, what do I actually enjoy? What do I believe? What matters to me more than anything else? Second, start noticing when you're performing. When do you change your voice, your opinions, your energy to match what you think others want? Those moments are clues. They show you where you're still not fully at home in yourself. Third, practice honoring your own preferences, even in small things. If you don't like a restaurant, say so gently. If you need to leave a party early, leave. If you prefer quiet mornings over busy ones, protect that time. Every time you honor yourself in small ways, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. And that relationship is the foundation of everything. A woman who knows herself doesn't chase. She chooses. And that is deeply, undeniably attractive. Reason number 2, she has developed emotional depth and inner peace. This one is so important, so let me take my time with it. When you're younger, emotions can feel like storms. They sweep through you. They take over. You might react quickly, love intensely, hurt deeply, and sometimes you might not even understand why you feel what you feel. That's not a weakness. That's just being human at that stage of life. But as you move through your 30s and beyond, something begins to change if you allow it. You start to understand your own emotional landscape. You learn what triggers you and why. You learn how to sit with difficult feelings without drowning in them. You learn how to express your needs without exploding or disappearing. You develop what I call emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. Here's why. When someone is emotionally mature, being around them feels safe. There's no walking on eggshells. There's no guessing what mood they'll be in. There's no chaos, no drama, no constant crisis. Instead, there's steadiness. There's warmth. There's the kind of peace that makes people want to stay. Think about the opposite for a moment. Think about someone who is beautiful but emotionally unstable. Someone who creates chaos wherever they go. Someone who reacts without thinking, who takes everything personally, who can't regulate their own feelings. That person might be exciting at first, but over time people pull away because chaos is exhausting, because instability is unsafe. Now think about a woman who has done the inner work. A woman who can feel hurt without lashing out, who can feel angry without losing control, who can feel sad without falling apart, who can hold space for difficult conversations without shutting down or attacking. That woman is a refuge. And in a world that feels increasingly chaotic and uncertain, that kind of steadiness is rare. It's valuable. It's attractive in the deepest sense of the word. Let me share a picture of what this looks like in real life. Imagine a woman named Maria. Maria is 43. She's been through some things. A difficult divorce, a period of financial struggle, a family member's illness that tested every part of her faith. But Maria didn't let those experiences harden her. She let them teach her. She went to therapy. She read books. She prayed. She journaled. She allowed herself to grieve without rushing the process. And slowly, she developed a relationship with her own inner world. Now, when Maria faces a challenge, she doesn't panic. She pauses. She breathes. She asks herself what she needs. She responds instead of reacting. When Maria is in a relationship, she doesn't play games. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't use silence as a weapon. She says what she feels with grace and listens with genuine interest. And people notice. Men notice. Friends notice. Even strangers notice. Because Maria carries a certain peace with her wherever she goes. Her presence feels like calm water after a storm. That didn't come from age alone. It came from doing the work. So here's what you can do to develop this kind of emotional depth. First, make a commitment to understanding your emotions. When you feel something strongly, don't just react, get curious. Ask yourself, what is this feeling really about? Where is it coming from? What does it need from me? Second, learn to pause before you respond. This is one of the most powerful things you can do. When something triggers you, give yourself 5 seconds. Breathe. Let the initial wave pass. Then choose your response with intention. Third, heal the wounds that are still running the show. So many of us carry old pain that we've never fully processed. That pain shows up in our relationships, in our reactions, in our patterns. Consider therapy, coaching, journaling, or whatever healing path resonates with you. The work is worth it. Fourth, practice being a calming presence, first for yourself, then for others. When life gets chaotic, can you be the one who brings peace instead of adding to the noise? That's a skill you can develop, and it transforms not just you, but everyone around you. A woman with emotional depth and inner peace is not fragile. She is not weak. She is the kind of strong that doesn't need to shout. She is the kind of powerful that heals instead of wounds. And that is irresistibly attractive. Reason number 3, she has crystal clear standards, and she honors them. Now, this reason might sound simple on the surface, but it's one of the most transformative shifts a woman can make. Let me tell you why. When you're younger, it's easy to confuse flexibility with having low standards. You might tell yourself that you're being open-minded, when really, you're accepting things that don't feel right. You might stay in situations that drain you because you don't want to seem difficult. You might say yes when everything in you is screaming no. And here's what happens when you live that way. You lose yourself. Slowly, quietly, piece by piece. But something changes as you mature. You start to realize that having standards isn't about being rigid or cold. It's about knowing your worth. It's about understanding that your time, your energy, your love, and your presence are precious. And precious things deserve to be protected. A woman with clear standards knows what she will and won't accept. She knows what kind of treatment she deserves. She knows what kind of relationship she wants to build. And she's not willing to settle for less just because she's afraid of being alone. That clarity is powerful. Because when you know what you want and you're willing to wait for it, you stop wasting time on the wrong people, the wrong opportunities, the wrong situations. You stop giving your best energy to people who don't appreciate it. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places that were never meant for you. And here's what's beautiful about this. When you raise your standards, you don't push good things away. You create space for the right things to find you. Think about it from the other perspective. When a man meets a woman who has no standards, a woman who will accept anything, tolerate anything, Forgive anything without boundaries. What does he subconsciously conclude? That she doesn't know her own value. That she's easily won. That she doesn't require his best effort. But when a man meets a woman who carries herself with dignity, who knows what she deserves, who won't chase or beg or lower herself, he recognizes that she is different. She commands respect without demanding it. She inspires him to be better simply by being who she is. That is the power of standards. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman named Grace. Grace is 38, and for most of her 20s and early 30s, she accepted crumbs in relationships. She dated men who were emotionally unavailable, who made her feel like she was asking for too much, who kept her in this uncertain space of almost, but never fully. Grace kept hoping that if she was patient enough, understanding enough, accommodating enough, these men would eventually see her value. They never did. And then one day, Grace had a wake-up call. Maybe it was hitting a significant birthday. Maybe it was watching her younger sister marry a man who adored her. Maybe she just got tired of feeling like an option instead of a priority. Whatever it was, Grace decided to change. She sat down and wrote out exactly what she wanted in a partner. Not just surface things, but deep things: emotional availability, integrity, consistency, shared values, genuine respect. Then she made a promise to herself. She would not settle for less. This didn't mean Grace became harsh or closed off. She was still warm, still kind, still open to connection. But she stopped giving her heart to people who hadn't earned it. She stopped investing in men who showed her through their actions that they weren't serious. And something shifted. The wrong men sensed her standards and didn't pursue her, which was a blessing in disguise. And eventually, she met someone who recognized her worth from the very beginning. Someone who didn't make her question where she stood. Someone who was clear, consistent, and committed. Grace's standards didn't push love away. They made room for real love. So here's how you can apply this in your own life. First, get clear on your non-negotiables. What are the things you absolutely need in a relationship, in a friendship, in a career? Write them down. These are not preferences, these are requirements. Things like respect, honesty, emotional availability, shared values. Second, learn to recognize when someone is showing you who they are. People tell us who they are all the time through their actions, their patterns, their choices. When someone shows you that they don't meet your standards, believe them the first